Everybody, Jason Matthews. I'm giving you guys a call. Huge numbers today came out. So if you guys don't know, the federal government today came out with the June inflation numbers. We reflect what was the inflation rate for last month. As we all know, probably one of the biggest issues we're all seeing is inflation. And we was hoping that the federal government was hoping that inflation was going to be 8.8%. But in actuality, we have the biggest inflation numbers that we have had during since post-COVID in this new era of inflation that we haven't seen since the early 80s. And right now, inflation actually rose this month to 9.1% was the inflation numbers. Once again, the inflation numbers was 9.1%. And just I'm about to give you a rundown on which ones were the biggest inflation gouges that we've seen. One was that we've seen food prices for inflation, which stands for the Consumer Price Index. It showed that inflation for the price of food from year to year has went up 10.4%. Eating at home has went up 12.2%, and eating away from home was 7.7%. The biggest inflation thing that we have had is this point is energy prices. Energy has went up a whopping 41.6%. And right now we can see where those inflation, why we see the President Joe Biden right now in Saudi Arabia, as we're asking him to exercise to pump more oil. So hopefully we can have more fuel and gas prices, or have more fuel and gas so we can lower the fuel and gas prices. Right now, if you look at the gas prices from a year ago, they're up 60%. Fuel and oil is up 59.5%. Electricity is up. So a lot of us might want to stay green and thought being green was great, but that is also up 13.7%. Another big thing that has went up has been new vehicles. So if we look to date on new vehicles, they're up 11.7%. While we see shelter is only up 5.65% for year date, and medical care is down 5.86%. So what we're seeing is we're having inflation drastically out of control compared to where it was, where the CPI, the Federal Reserve, wants to keep the CPI numbers at 2%. They're trying to contain it. And now in this new world of post-COVID, we are up 9.1%. What that's saying is last month, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates a 75 basis point or 0.75%. This month, when they go and announce it next week, inflation, interest rates, they could raise. We're expecting it to be 75 basis point, and some economists even say 1% basis point. So how does that affect you? One, we're seeing that we're seeing right now a lot of people are struggling with inflation. We're seeing foreclosures are slowly rising in the real estate market. Also, the news that came out yesterday when it came out to homes, that a lot of people are backing away from home sales, which we have not seen in a while. And the reason being for that is last year you was buying a new development. I was talking to a client about this yesterday, and they say, hey, I was getting a home built at that time. The mortgage rate was about 3.5%, 3%. Now that rate went by 5.65%, or around 6%. Because of that, I can no longer afford the house, so I'm going to stay put on where I'm at. So that's one thing. The cost to service debt is drastically has went up from a year from now. If you are a person who rely on gas on a fixed income, and your income did not go up by more than 9.1%, you're actually struggling. They're saying the average American income is down 3.6% of the year, and when you include inflation. So because of that, we see inflation increasing, which are hurting individuals who are regular employed, who hasn't got their cost of living is killing them. We see right now, so the cost of service debt is going to cost a lot more. So we're going to see credit card rates go up. We're going to see the stock market volatility switch, as some people are going to switch from stocks and convert it over to bonds. One benefit for people who have saved or are servers and cash, their rates have drastically went up. So one thing I'm seeing right now, I haven't seen in years, fixed annuities 3-year locked in is giving over 4%, which I have not seen in over 10 plus years. I see fixed index have risen their caps to 8.75, 9% by companies are AA rated creditworthy insurance company, which is drastically high. We see I bonds, which are U.S. securities, now rates are over 9%. This month I bond report might be over 10%. So we're seeing savers are switching over for that. We also see bonds give a higher rate. It's crazy. Somebody asked me to look at a real estate deal where they asking me to look at a real estate deal where I'd be an investor for it, and I get a certain percentage back, which he gave a rate of 10%. And my thing is, I have an email on the back, but said, why am I going to give you 10%? Well, I'm only getting 10% of my money. When I could put that money in my I bond, and my I bond is going to give me over 10%, and that's government backed by the U.S. government. That makes no sense. I need a higher rate because as interest rates go up, the cost of service debt, I know my risk-free allotment is now a lot higher. So the money I take there is going to be risky because he's investing, he's trying to flip. He says a good deal. For that to be worthwhile, I have to have a higher margin than what he currently gave because now we're in a different economic condition. So it's going to be very interesting. I think right now, with the way that inflation gets, if the Democrats don't figure out how to get this control, or the federal government don't get this underneath control, we're going to see a red river, a red bloodbath in November for the Democrats. You're going to see the Republicans take the House. I think they're going to take the Senate, and you're going to see take a lot of government state government shifts because of these inflation numbers going to be out of control. I don't think inflation is going to go away anytime soon. We're seeing inflation is a two-pronged thing. We see inflation coming from all the money printing that we actually did during COVID, and forget that even before COVID with quantitative easing coming out of 2008, and from all that money printing from what they call quantitative easing, where the Federal Reserve was printing money and printing money and printing money. I think we're going to see a lot of there's going to be a slow process to wind down and lower inflation. Actually, you have investors who hope we have a recession so the Federal Reserve can print more money at this point. Also, we see this with supply chain issues. We see what's happening in Sri Lanka. We see it in India where people are upset because there's food and supply chain issues of getting food to people. People are starving. You see the Sri Lanka, they got rid of the prime minister and everything because people sure really don't have the food. So it's not just that we printed money. We're in this perfect storm of, yes, we have printed the money. We're also in an area where we printed money, but there's issues for our food right now. There's issues with energy, it's issues of getting the stuff. We have food shortages right now throughout the world with their weather changing. So there's a lot of things are making the perfect storm for things. And it reminds you a lot of the 1970s. I'm going to say this, you guys heard me say this again. You should study the history of the 1940s on the Joe Biden administration and the Jimmy Carter administration and how they're very, very similar. They say history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. And I think this is a perfect example of this. If you're getting into retirement, this is a perfect time where you should be looking at strategy on your stuff. Where am I in my portfolio? Can I take this craziness of inflation for the next 10, 20 years? Can I get hit by all these stocks that are drastically dropping because of it? Because we look at stock prices right now, they are down big time year to date. So the S&P 500, which is the 30 biggest companies in the country, is down 15%. We see right now NASDAQ is down. It's up today, but the NASDAQ is down year to date 27%. We see the S&P 500, the 500 biggest companies, they're flat today, but they're down 19.85%. So I think this is a really time where we educate it and we make some great smart decisions on our money and wealth. Anyway, I hope everybody have a good day. I got to go back to working, studying for another license. And I just want to inform you guys, back at the office, I've been away in DC. So you guys haven't really seen me do these videos, but I'm always just trying to educate the people on what's happening and what's going on. Talk to you later.